When you think of Saudi Arabia, you probably picture two things: vast oil fields and just immense wealth. But behind all that shimmer, there's this huge, and I mean huge, vulnerability. The question is, what is it?
Okay, so what if you had this golden palace, but you only had like 2 sips of water to drink? Sounds like a riddle, right? Well, it's not. It's pretty much the reality for Saudi Arabia, a nation that's unbelievably rich in one resource, but facing a life-or-death shortage of another. And to survive, the kingdom has launched one of the most ambitious engineering projects in history.
Zero. That's how many natural, permanent rivers you'll find in Saudi Arabia. And get this, it's the largest country on Earth without a single one. That fact alone tells you just how massive their challenge really is every single day. So, how in the world do you run a modern, growing country in a place that's basically all scorching desert? Well, to get there, we first need to understand just what pushed them to the edge. And what you're looking at here is a perfect storm. On one side, you've got this population explosion, from just 3 million people back in 1950 to over 26 million today. And on the other side, a climate that is just brutal. We're talking 98% desert and almost no rain. Put those two things together, and you get a demand for water that is completely, totally unsustainable. For decades, Saudi Arabia had this sort of hidden ace up its sleeve, a massive underground supply of ancient water. But what looked like a miracle solution quickly turned into a race against time, and it had some pretty devastating consequences. Yeah, this wasn't just any old groundwater. This was fossil water, stuff that had been trapped deep underground for millennia. And here's the catch. Once it's gone forever. It's like a battery you can't recharge. It was a one-time gift from the planet, and they were using it up. So how did they manage to burn through millions of years' worth of water in just a few short decades? Well, it all started back in the 70s with what seemed like a great idea. Let's grow our own wheat, become food independent. So the government started pouring money into farming, and suddenly agriculture just exploded across the desert. And the results? Whoa. By 2003, a whopping 85% of that precious fossil water was being pumped out just to grow crops in the sand. Then, in 2016, NASA drops this bombshell report. It showed the kingdom was losing its underground water at a mind-blowing rate. We're talking 2 trillion liters every single year. And that's when the penny dropped. That quote says it all. They were using a battery that could never be recharged. They were literally draining their only natural water source dry. So the wheat farming experiment, it was shut down fast. The fossil water that was left got locked away for emergencies. It was crystal clear they needed a totally new and honestly a pretty radical plan. Okay, so their natural wells are almost empty. What do? You turn to the one place that has more water than you can imagine. The ocean. They decided to build something that sounds like science fiction, a massive, man-made river network, powered by technology to bring life back to the desert. Just try to wrap your head around the scale of this thing. We're not just talking about a pipe, we're talking about a 12,000-kilometer network of enormous underground pipelines. The goal? To deliver 9.4 times billion liters of fresh water every single day. And it's all coming from the salty Red Sea and Persian Gulf. Okay, so 12,000 kilometers. What does that even mean? Think about the River Nile, right? The longest natural river on the entire planet. That's about 6,650 kilometers long. This artificial river system is nearly twice as long. It's an insane feat of engineering. They're basically trying to rewrite the map. But how do you actually turn salty seawater into fresh water at that kind of scale? All right, so one of the main ways they do this is with something called multi-stage flash distillation. The basic idea is pretty clever. You boil the seawater in these huge chambers to create steam. Then you move that steam into other chambers with lower pressure, which causes it to flash, evaporate really, really fast, over and over again. All that pure water vapor gets collected and cooled back into fresh water. And the best part, they even recycle the waste heat to help power the whole thing. Okay, the other big piece of the puzzle is a technology called reverse osmosis. This one is actually inspired by biology. Instead of heat, it uses insane amounts of pressure to push seawater through a super special membrane. I mean, the pores in this thing are so tiny, they physically block 99% of all the salt, minerals, they even block viruses. It's incredibly precise and way more energy efficient. So, making billions of liters of fresh water basically out of thin air? It's a modern miracle, no doubt. But every miracle has a price. And in this case, the price is being paid by the ocean itself, in the form of this super concentrated, pretty nasty byproduct. Okay, so let's go back to that number, 9.4 billion. That's how many liters of fresh water they're making every day. It's incredible. But what gets left behind when you take all that fresh water out?
This 329,000 tons of super salty gunk called brine. That is the waste product from making all that fresh water. And that's not per year or per month. That's every single day.
And if 329,000 tons is hard to picture, think of it this way. That's the same weight as 1,645 blue whales, the biggest animal on the planet. Imagine that much waste being generated every day. And of course, it has to go somewhere.
And here is the devastating price. All of that hot, super salty brine gets pumped right back into the sea. It's heavier than normal seawater, so it sinks and just smothers the seafloor, jacking up the temperature and the salinity. And the result? It kills marine life. It's creating these dead coral zones, and it's a huge threat to the entire coastal ecosystem. But of course, the story doesn't end there. It's like they solved one massive crisis only to create a brand new one. So now Saudi Arabia is throwing its resources at this new environmental problem, and even trying to figure out how to turn it into an opportunity. So, what are they doing about it? Well, for one, they're developing these deep-sea diffusers to try and spread out the brine and lessen its impact. But even more ambitious, they're looking into something called brine mining, literally pulling out valuable stuff like magnesium and potassium from the waste, turning pollution into profit. And their goals are just massive. They want to meet 100% of their water needs this way by 2030. And, in what has to be the ultimate statement, the country with 0 rivers is going to host the World Water Forum in 2027. When you look at it, Saudi Arabia's artificial river is this incredible monument to human ingenuity and human desperation. It's like a declaration that, hey, if nature won't give us what we need, our technology will just have to force a solution. But as they solve one problem, another one just seems to pop up, right? And it leaves us with this huge question. Can our technology ever really conquer geography without creating a whole new set of problems we never saw coming?